What up? I'm Zach, and you're about to see how we built this concrete sub box from start to finish. I'll do my best to describe what we're doing along the way, and if you have any questions, feel free to let me know, and I'll be happy to get those answered. I wouldn't consider myself an expert by any means, but that's more or less my intention in making this video. So show you don't really need to be an expert. All you need is some motivation, people that are willing to help, and a couple tools. So without further ado, let's get into it. Step one, day one, we did some calculating, and then Trevor started marking this line. And then once he had it all marked off, I started cutting it with my angle grinder. I'm putting a notch into the bank, which is going to be the first of a couple things that will keep our sub box anchored into place.
All right.
Zach Ventures once again. All right, go for it. Yeah.
There's a bug right on the mallet logo.
Yeah. Who's going over? Who's going under?
I know. I was like, you can't even do that.
Closer! Faster! Too close! Oh my god.
Day two, getting a little session before I get back to work. This will be the second of 3 total days using the angle grinder to cut into the concrete. That was definitely one of my limiting factors, both with the small blade and the battery life not being very good. I only got about 20 minutes of cutting per day, and it only goes in about 1.5 inches. And what I was aiming for is a 3-inch by 3-inch notch in that existing concrete. So it was a bit tedious. If I had like a gas saw, I could have got it all done super fast. But unfortunately I don't, and you got to work with what you got. Well, so the battery died on my angle grinder, which you just saw, and I decided to switch gears over to digging out a trench behind the existing concrete. I'm going for a shovel wide by 4-inch deep trench, and we're going to pour the concrete in behind that, which is going to allow our sub box to hook onto that existing concrete, and that's going to be another thing that will keep it anchored into place. So the plan for day 3 was to finish cutting that notch out, chip that all out, and then get to work on the template for the ends of the form. So here I am throwing those batteries in so I can get another 15 or 20 minutes of cutting, maybe. And then in a moment, you'll see me get started on that cardboard template for the ends of the forms. Here I am making the final cut on my template for the end of my form. I didn't manage to get any footage of actually taking that contour of the existing concrete, but basically what I did is use some malleable wire, lay it on there and mess with it until it fits that shape, and then put it on my cardboard, trace it, and cut it out. Definitely not a difficult thing to do, but it was a bit tedious. And then we'll place it on there. There's a few gaps, but that's going to be good enough for what we're doing. Then I'll cut the top off of it there, and that's going to give us our actual profile of what the ledge is going to look like. I went with about 18.5 or 19 inches of height. That's going to be good enough for pedal grinds. And I'll trace it onto our OSB and start cutting out the edges of the forms. There's Trevor drilling into the existing concrete with his hammer drill and a 5/8 inch bit. What we're going to use those holes for is pieces of rebar that will come up out of the existing concrete into our new piece, which will be the third way to anchor it in place.
I saw a pour somewhere today where like they had 2x4s on the
Day 4, and this was a fun one because once you start building the form, it really starts to come to life and you can see the shape of the thing. I made sure to build my form stronger than I thought it needed to be, just to make sure there was no risk of the form blowing out or having everything bow once you get all that concrete in there, because it is a lot of weight. We used a 2x12 and a 2x8 on the front face, and then we used a 2x8 and a 2x4 on the back face. And you can see those pieces of rebar that we got in there. We're also gonna cut those off and place the other half in the back in that trench that I dug earlier. And then you'll see I'll put all my kickers and everything on there, and that's what we got done on day 4.
What about this gap under here?
There you can see I got my 5 kickers on the front. I got my 2 braces, keeping the 2x12 and the 2x8 together, and then I pounded my rebar into that back trench to make sure the hook is strong on the existing concrete.
The one behind you, about.
Alright, well I know. I stress it all the time.
Sorry, I'm tweaking.
Do not touch it. What else do we got? Let me see the broom. He's just seeing Scott in here. He's like, this is where COVID's invented.
Day 5, pouring the concrete, and you're getting a little behind the scenes on how we actually get it in there. We got to go through a giant, scary metal hatch that is only propped up by a 2x4, but it's been safe so far. You can see you just take it through there with a wheelbarrow. I got 1 bag of high PSI, that's what we're going to use on the edge, and then the rest is just high strength, which is going to make up the body of the ledge. So this is how we ended up with the rebar, 1 long piece going from end to end, and then we had little pieces going from back to front. And this is Dylan jumping off of the quarter pipe, and that's our flyer for the jam we have in September. Nobody was hurt. Nate got hurt a little bit. This is how we mix our concrete. We call it the tarp method. We didn't come up with it, but we use it a lot. I recommend it if you don't have a mixer and you don't mind making a little mess. It's a lot faster than using a bucket or a wheelbarrow. So we're just gonna go to town doing this, tarp by tarp, filling it up, and then towards the end we'll mix up that high PSI stuff that's gonna go right on the edge of the ledge where it's actually gonna be grinded. So you'll see that in a second. What Trevor's got there is aptly named a vibrator, and having that was key because our form had a lot of crevices, and using the vibrator helps get all those air bubbles out of the small pockets and make sure the concrete fits into every little crevice.
Going up and down on that.
Like I said earlier, I'm a big fan of the tarp method. I think it works great. It does get challenging at times when people forget their turn. You try to just go in a circle and it should be simple, but I've done it myself. You just going around the circle and you completely forget, and everyone's just staring at concrete.
You good, G?
Hell yeah.
You'll see in these next few clips, I'm pushing the concrete towards the back of the form. I'm filling up the back edge with the regular stuff, and then we're gonna mix up that high PSI stuff for the front edge. That'll go.
You can kind of see what it is, right, Zach?
Yeah. So that was 2 out of our 3 bags of the high PSI stuff that we got for the edge of the ledge. We're gonna pack that in towards the front edge of the form and cross our fingers that prevents the ledge from chipping when we grind it. I might end up adding a piece of angle iron retroactively, but for now I'm just gonna cross my fingers and hope that does the trick. There's our final bag of high PSI stuff that we're mixing up, dumping that in, and then once we get that all pushed up to the edge, we'll have a little valley there in the middle of the form to fill with the regular concrete.
You can throw it off if you want.
So now that it's pretty much full, I'm just filling in some low spots that we had there, and then I'm gonna screed it off. Like I said, I'm no expert, so I think I actually did screed it off a little bit too much while it was too early, and I brought too much cream to the top there. So in the future, I probably won't do that, but like I said, just learning as we go. There I am taking that top brace off, and we're gonna finish the top of the ledge, but we didn't take the form off because we wanted to just make sure the concrete sets up super strong, and it's not like we have to finish the sides to make it look pretty, because all we're gonna do is grind it with our bikes, so who cares? This is day 6. I gave it about a week to set up before I even messed with it at all. So this day was awesome because I got to take the form off and see what the ledge actually looks like. And then once I got that all taken apart, I grinded down the edge, made sure it was all uniform. everything like that, took off any rough edges. Day 7, the last one of working on it. All I had to do was lacquer it up, wax it, and see how it grinds. Here we are at the final step, just waxing it up, and then it's ready to grind. I invited a bunch of people to come by and ride it, test it out, see how it rides. So stick around to see that footage. It's coming right up. And other than that, if you enjoyed this video and you want to support our next project, go to the Yes Bikes website, pick up a hat or a t-shirt, or you can Venmo at Bikeside. All that is going to go towards our concrete, lumber, tools, you name it. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I want to do more, so I will see you next time.
Yo! Mike Brown throw bars. Oh, yo, easy! Wait. Oh, God! Mike motherfucking Brown!
Whoa!
No way!
Oh! Damn!
Yeah!
Anybody else? Anybody else?
You feel it too, dude.